Recording. Coming to you live from Georgia, it's the Matt L. Podcast. Our next guest is my friend Chip Brackley, who recently went on a mission trip to the Amazon. So how have you been, Chip?
Good, Matt L. How are you?
Good. So, are you ready for some questions?
I guess. Let's jump right into it, right?
When did you become a Christian?
It's a good question. Like, what date was it? Or what happened, or how did it happen?
All of the above. Like, what year? How old were you?
Yeah.
Stage of life?
So, I grew up in Hingham, Mass, which is a suburb of Boston, and I grew up, never really went to church or did anything like that. A lot of people up there don't really go to church all that much. But when I came down here, started dating my wife, Crystal, and she asked me to go to church. And I was like, I ain't going to church. I sleep in on Sundays. That ain't happening. And she kept asking me. So then I figured, you know what? If I don't go to church, she's going to break up with me. So I went to church, and we ended up going to North Point Community Church, which was awesome. And, you know, right when we got there, it was just a pretty awesome experience. And it didn't take long after that where I kind of figured out who Jesus was, what he meant to me. And I had probably been there for about a year. And then that's when I kind of said, all right, I'm ready to go, ready to become a Christian. Yeah.
So, are you different since becoming a Christian?
I've gained some weight. It's been about 15 years, put on a couple pounds. So I think kind of every facet of life, right? You know, you kind of figure out who you are when you become a Christian, what you're here on this earth for, what your purpose is. And so obviously that doesn't happen right away, but it takes time. So I think almost in every area or every aspect of my life, there's been changes, and I'm different. Hopefully all for the better, but you know, it definitely changed the way I acted, the things I did, my attitudes, all that sort of stuff.
So how did you get to go on the mission trip to the Amazon?
Yeah, so I'm on the board of a ministry called ROI Ministry. And essentially our goal is to try and find the best ministries out there. That's kind of a vague statement, but per dollar given to the ministries, which ones are the most effective? So if it's discipleship, how much does it cost to bring someone through the New Testament? If it's compassion, how much does it cost to feed or bring water to someone? And so our goal is to find the best ministries in the world so that people, when they can know they're making a difference, right? So they know if they're going to give money to this ministry, it's going to be used effectively, and it's going to be, good use of the money, right? And so through that, you just met a whole bunch of people. And so there's a group here in Atlanta called Renew Outreach. And so we've partnered with them in a lot of things, and they work with a lot of our top 10 ministries. So RI Ministry has a top 10 list. They work with a lot of the top 10 ministries, became friends with them, and they have they do a lot of technology, and so bring a lot of the technology to these ministries that translate the Bible. They do a lot of Bible translation and that sort of stuff. And they have a place down in the Amazon where it's kind of at the hub of the Amazon there, where they go in, and it's basically their spot where they bring in missionaries. They have a training facility. They have a recording studio, so they'll go in, make connections with the different tribes in the Amazon. They all have different languages, bring them back, and then they'll record the New Testament or pieces of the New Testament in the recording studio in the Amazon. So it was through that group I went down there. They had just become good friends. They asked me to go down there. So the last couple of years I went down there with them.
Which part of the Amazon did you go to?
So we went to Peru. We flew into Lima, and then we took a small plane to Iquitos, which you're familiar with. And then you can either take a long, probably a 6-7 hour boat ride to where we launched off, or we took a 2-hour bus ride kind of like along a dirt road, a little bumpy, windy, but it wasn't too bad. And so it was, I don't know the exact name of the town, but it was, Iquitos is the major city there. And so we stayed in Iquitos a few nights as well before we went onto the river.
Yeah, when I was in 3rd and 4th grade, I lived in Peru, and I got to go to Iquitos,
Yep.
the part that was in the Amazon, and Puerto Maldonado.
Ah, probably. So when was that? You in third grade?
1994, 1995.
Yeah.
So what did you and your team do while you were there?
Yeah, good question. So I just tried to get out of the way and not be a nuisance to anybody. So one of the things that they were going down for was this trip was kind of a vision setting trip, right? So they were kind of putting a team together that were going to go deeper into the Amazon to reach some of these tribes. And I think the prior year they had recorded the New Testament in I think 12 different languages. And it's really hard to reach these people in the Amazon because they're spread out. Some of these tribes, there's thousands of tribes in the Amazon. Most of them have different languages. The mother language is Spanish, obviously, but most of them have different languages. And so they have to basically, every single time they meet a tribe, they have to go in, make connections there, learn the language, come back and try and translate. So it takes a long time. And so they were going in to basically put the team together that was going to go out and continue on with the mission of going down the river and meeting these new tribes, bringing them back. So that was a big thing. And then that was the first time we did it. The second time we went back, we had a group of people come, and they had brought back people from, I think, about 20 tribes all up and down the Amazon to learn all the new technology. So they have this technology that they send out that has the Jesus film on it.
Good.
And it has the New Testament. And so they're bringing these tribal people in to learn how to use the technology so then they could go back out into the tribes and do it. And it's really hard because some of these tribes will be 50 people up to a couple thousands. There aren't really big tribes there because of it's so hard to live there, and they fished most of it out. They kill most of the animals. So life on the Amazon is very, very difficult. They don't have a lot of nutrition. People don't live all that long either. It's kind of a rough life out there.
Did you and your team have a guide?
So the people that we went down with, who I said Renew Outreach, they have people that live on the property year round, and they've been going down there for like 20 years. When they first started going down, they didn't have a property, they didn't have anything, so they would literally go down and get on a boat and just kind of go upriver. And my trip was a little bit cushy compared to what they were doing. You know, we had they have cabins set up, so you're sleeping outside, but there's cabins and there's mosquito nets and stuff like that up. It's still out there. There's still animals, and there's vampire bats hanging in your cabin and stuff like that. But it was pretty nice. When they would go down, they had nowhere to stay, so they would sleep in their boat. They would go and they'd have nowhere to sleep, no food or anything like that, and they would go and basically knock on these tribal people's door at night and say, it's not really doors there, they just kind of sleep on these platforms and say, hey, we need a place to stay, can we stay there? And so that was a little bit, what they were doing was a lot tougher than what I did, let me put it that way.
I remember that the accommodations were better in Puerto Maldonado than in Iquitos.
So I don't know, I've never been to the other place, but Iquitos was actually, it's probably changed a lot, right? I mean, you were down there over 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And so there's some rough areas. I mean, that was a whole, that area there, people live on the base of the river there. And it's really, I mean, poverty's unbelievable there, right? And they're all kind of like drinking out of that water and going to the bathroom in the water and showering all in the same water. So it's not that great. But we were there for 2 nights prior to going on the river and then one night on the way back. But we were in a hotel. They stay in the same hotel down there, so it was actually a nice hotel. It was air conditioning, so it wasn't too bad. But we did go out into some of those different areas down there, and they're pretty tough. A lot of poverty there. It used to be back 100 plus years ago as the rubber city, and so the British came in and they had rubber trees. And there's these beautiful, beautiful buildings there that are kind of dilapidated and kind of run down now. But it was probably a pretty awesome city back then. But most of it's run down now. There's not a lot of business there.
Yeah, so it must have been on the border with Peru and Brazil.
Yeah, I don't know exactly. I think it's pretty far in, but it was on no, it was on the other side. I think it's a pretty good ways from Brazil. I think.
Okay.
I gotta study my map again.
Me too. Because I thought like the rubber trees were in Brazil.
Yeah, they're probably up and down. Well, it may have been
all over, maybe all over,
but it also could have been a shipping port, right, where they came in because that was kind of the base of the river. So it could have been that they were pulling the trees in from Brazil and shipping them out of there. Yeah,
that's okay. I remember fishing for piranha. Would you ever want to do that?
So no, we did. You know, you go down to the markets there and everything. They got the piranha there, and you see all the fishermen that go there, and they have all the little piranha bites out of their legs and stuff like that. So we didn't go fishing. Which is fine. We did go to the zoo there, which is a little bit different than our zoos. I don't think they're sanctioned by anybody. And so, you know, you go up and there's just anacondas sitting there, and they let you play with the anacondas, and you can wrap around your body and stuff like that. So that was fun. And there's big leopards and stuff like that, but there's not a lot of cages and whatnot. So it's a little bit, it's interesting. It's fun though. Yeah.
I didn't know that there were zoos in the Amazon.
It's I don't know if they call it a zoo.
Yeah.
Right? It's not a petting zoo.
Nature preserve.
Yeah, I think what they do is a lot of these animals were either injured, they found them injured, or a couple of the anacondas, they bought them off the black market. Someone had captured them, and they came and kind of rescued them off the black market and put them in there. But they'll let you mess around with them. So
yeah, like fishing here in the States and in like Canada, you have to be very quiet so you don't scare the fish away. But like I remember fishing for piranha, you have to like slap the water and that scares them to the surface.
Get them all excited.
Yeah.
You got to put them in a lather there. Yeah, I don't think I want to fish for piranha.
And then Chip, when after my family had caught some piranha, we went around the corner, the river bend, the same river, and the guide said, "Okay, we can jump out and start swimming here."
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, my dad was the smart one. He stayed in the boat, but my mom and my sister and I jumped into the water.
Swimming?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the water was so muddy that even if there had been piranha in that part of the river, which by the way was the same river, we wouldn't have been able to see them.
Yeah, I don't think I would have done that. It says a lot about you, though. You're a courageous man. Some of the guys that we went, where we stayed was right. It was kind of on a main part of the river. And so they're like, yeah, it's safe to swim in there because the current was moving I think it was 8 miles an hour or something like that, moving pretty quick. So they said there's not a lot of animals there or anything like that, right? So there was a couple of guys we were with who were swimming. I filmed it. I stayed on the shore. But there's a huge anaconda skin right on there, so they're in there. But yeah, you're fine. Keep going.
I remember the river current moved really quickly in Puerto Maldonado. And I remember because I was in 3rd grade, we went trekking through part of the jungle, through part of the rainforest.
Trekking?
Yeah,
Is that like hiking?
Yeah, but because the water was so, because I was in 3rd grade, I was about 9 years old. The water came up to my shoulders.
Yeah, that water's moving. I mean, 8 miles an hour will carry you down. Those guys that we were with just jumped in and floated down the river. But usually there's not a lot of, you got to go back. And so we did that a couple times. We took their little, they call them peckies. It's just a little boat with a motor on the end. And they would take us back into the tributaries and stuff like that. That's where I think the animals are. And these boats break down, everything breaks down there. I mean, just nothing kind of runs. So you're back on the river, and that thing breaks down, and you're sitting there floating through the river, right? Which isn't the most, it's not the best feeling in the world. And so you're just kind of waiting for something to hop out at you, but we survived.
So how were the accommodations where you were?
So it's actually pretty nice. It was nicer than I thought. We had there's actually a house on their property. There's a house that has air conditioning and that sort of stuff. We didn't stay in that. We stayed in because that's kind of where the I don't actually know who stayed there. I think that most of the women stayed there. Me and 3 other guys slept in one of the cabins. It's nice. It's just a wooden cabin, and it had nets up and stuff like that. But you're fine. I mean, you're out there. It doesn't cool down. I'll tell you that. It's extremely hot.
Not even at night?
No.
Wow.
It's so hot at night. and then you hear all the animals out there. You didn't sleep that great, but it's fine. And then you actually see where the dogs would sleep. There'd always be like a little pool of blood next to the dogs outside because of the vampire bats would come and nick them, and then the blood would run down there. A lot of bats there. A lot of bats. But the accommodations were fine. Yeah, you didn't sleep all that much. But
I don't remember any bats, but I remember that the latrines in Iquitos were pretty bad. And I think I got sick in Iquitos, but that's also where we went fishing for piranha.
yeah, did you eat the piranha? What did you?
Yeah,
Oh, you did.
they cooked them, and in like a dining hall, sort of mess hall kind of place, and there was a guy who had there was like a one-armed man there. So it was the first.
Still be there.
Yeah, and it was the first time my sister and I had ever seen a one-armed person before, a one-armed man.
Which is always fun.
Yeah, and it made me wonder whether it was, a piranha had gotten his arm.
Maybe it could have been a big piranha. Maybe an alligator, croc, or something like that.
Or maybe a machete?
Cougar, machete, snake. You never know. Or he could have been born with one arm.
And then I remember when my family went to was Puerto Maldonado, we had a guide, and he sort of photobombed all of our group pictures. He would count 1, 2, 3, and then he'd get in front of all of us.
Really?
Yeah.
That was like before photobombing too. Right?
Yeah,
20
before the
years ago,
term
no
was
one knew about that.
yeah.
Good for him. He may have
Was-
invented it.
Maybe.
Meet that guy.
Is there anything you want to promote?
Do I want to promote anything? It's a good question. Well, I don't know if it's promoting, but I would tell you to go to ROI Ministry, the website, the ministry that I'm on the board of. If you want to find some really good ministries that you want to be a part of, or that you want to support, I would go to that. So it's www.roiministry.com or .org, and you can see some cool ministries, what they're doing. There's a calculator on there, so you say, hey, I want to give $100. It will tell you what effect that will have.
Yeah.
So it'll say you give $100, you can feed 500 people for a week or whatever it is. So that's pretty cool. So I would recommend people get on there and check out that website.
Is there anything else you want to say about your experience in the Amazon?
Well, yeah. I mean, I would say everyone at some point needs to go to somewhere that's not comfortable to go to, right? I mean, I was a little nervous going there. You don't know what to expect, but it makes you really grateful. I know everyone says it's kind of cliche, but for what you have, right? So the people in the Amazon, it's kind of changing. It's getting a little better for them, but man, they don't have a lot at all, right? And they die really early, like in their 40s and stuff like that, because they have no nutrition. They get diseases, and there's a lot of cool things going on there, but like, I don't know, it was probably 10, 15, maybe 20 years ago. This is just a quick story on how tough it is. If you were the guys hunt and gather, right? That's their job. The women take care of the kids and cook. And so if you're a guy and you lose your eyesight, or you start to go blind a little bit, it's really hard to continue to hunt, right? And so what they would do, since it's such a tough area to live in, and there's such limited resources, if you couldn't hunt, you would become a burden on your tribe. So these guys would just walk off and leave the tribe to go die, right? Until someone decided, hey, let's bring them some eyeglasses, right? And so there was a ministry started that went and brought eyeglasses.
CBM, Christian Blind Missions?
It's down in Florida. I think it's called iTech, maybe. Okay. But it's just awesome. I mean, you see stuff like that, and then like 1 out of 3 babies die just because they don't know how to take care of them, know how to clean and stuff like that. So what they'll do a lot of time, and the group that we went down is just trying to teach them how to take care of their babies. So babies born, they would wrap it up tight. They'd dig a little hole, put them in the hole, and light a fire next to it, because they thought the main thing was to keep the mosquitoes out, right? So they put them in a hole, like not a deep hole, but they would put them in there. And they didn't know how to clean them, and they didn't boil the water, so they'd be giving them bad water and stuff like that. And 1 out of 3 babies die, so it's just it's kind of tough. But to see that sort of stuff, and then to realize what we have here, and then you kind of sit there and go, well, how can we help them? Because we have more than we ever need here.
Yeah.
And so what can you do to help those people, and kind of give to them what some of the stuff, and you can't ever completely change them, but you can make their life better.
It reminds me of a quote from Andy Stanley that you and I really like, is do for one what you wish you could do for everyone.
Right, exactly right. Yeah, so find something like that, and I'll probably go back down to the Amazon because you meet people down there and you get to know them, and you build that relationship with them, which is cool. But yeah, I mean, you just go do something that doesn't, that's not easy, makes you uncomfortable, and kind of makes you realize how good you have it here.
But you won't be fishing for piranha?
I could, you never know. If you want me to bring one back, huh? I can fish one for one.
Would you be able to bring it back?
No, but I could find a way. Yeah, they don't let you bring anything back.
Anymore.
No. Right, too bad. I could ship one to you, though.
Oh.
If I got one. I'll tell you what, if I can catch one, I'll do catch and release, right? Because I don't want to eat that thing. I don't know how you take a hook
He'll cook
out
it
of
for you.
his mouth, though, yeah. I'll take a picture for you. Is that good enough?
Yeah, but don't worry, Chip. There are no hooks, just sticks that you slap the water with.
How do you catch them? A net?
Probably hit them to stun them. And then somehow you got to get it into the boat.
Yeah, I'll use a hook. You can do that method. Or we can just jump in and grab them. Either way is fine.
The guide in Iquitos said if we hadn't caught any piranha, he was going to jump in and catch some.
Really? Was that the guy with one arm? No, a different guy. Yeah, so if I catch a piranha, I'll bring one back to you, buddy.
That would make sense if the one-armed man had jumped into the water and kind of
a lot of piranhas
caught piranha with his bare hands.
Yeah.
That would make sense.
Right. Yeah, who knows?
Okay, Chip. Do you want to put in a word for our church, a word about our church, Roswell Assembly?
So, yeah. Roswell Assembly. Trying to think of what word you'd like me to give. If you want to come join us on Sunday, go right ahead. We'd love to have you. Great church. We're actually talking about missions this weekend.
Yes.
I don't know when you're going to post this, so that could be like 6 months.
As soon
later,
as possible.
But yeah, so 6 months ago we had a missions. So,
You're
yeah,
so
exactly.
funny.
But there's good people there. It's really diverse crowds with fun. Yeah.
And is there anything you want to say to our viewers in closing?
Love you all. Right? Especially you, Matt L., and your podcast.
Well, Chip, I appreciate your friendship. I really do.
Yeah, no doubt. Glad to do it. And I'll come back next time. Bring a piranha. We'll do it again.
Yeah, and then
I'll bring my pet.
We'll have to document it.
Yes, that would be good as well.
All right, Chip.
All right, buddy. Bye, everybody.
And to ladies and gentlemen, to all of you who are going to watch this, as always, thank you for watching, and hopefully we'll have another interview for you soon.
To all a good night.
Yes. Chip, good night and good luck.
Goodbye. Just buy that.
Zach gave it to me for my birthday. Okay, here we go. It's recording.
We got a TV timeout. We got a dog in the house.
That's okay.
Okay.
Okay, we're recording.
Okay.
What's your name?
Alyssa,
Alyssa? What grade are you in?
3rd.
3rd
No,
grade?
you're not. Are you?
Yes.
I remember I learned how to write cursive when I was in 3rd grade.
I learned it in 2nd grade.
And that's when I went to the
They text
Amazon
now.
for the
They don't
first
do
time.
cursive, They text. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
I went to, my mom and I went to Puerto Maldonado
Did you
when
catch
I
any
was in.
piranha?
Yes, that was in Iquitos though.
Okay, got it.
What's your favorite subject?
I don't have one.
Football?
PE, gym?
Miss Milton's
I like PE the best.
Okay.
No.
Do you like music?
She sings a little off.
Oh, your teacher?
My music teacher is like.
Is your music teacher is an opera singer?
No,
a high-pitched opera singer.
Does she ever break like glass? Does she ever break a window when she sings?
Probably could.
Huh. So, if you had to pick one, English or language arts, social studies, math, or science, which one of those would you pick?
Reading because the teachers don't look at you.
Oh,
And
they
you
just
can,
listen to you when you're reading out loud, or
No,
they just let you read?
You read in your head. She's always on her computer, so I just talk to my friends too.
Seems like you're really excelling at school here, and you're really excited about it. Is that
Yeah,
true?
it's really
That's
fun.
great. Glad we're sending you to school. You want to just stay home and you can work the land?
Oh, actually, yes.
Careful, you don't want to know what that's hard work. You don't
It
know what
is.
you're getting yourself into.
Yeah, it's 4 a.m. We got cows back there.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
can milk the
He's
cows,
talking about like tilling the soil, tilling
That
the
would be
ground.
weird.
hunt for your food.
I mean, I could. Like, well, I could eat the deer poop right there.
Okay, well, thanks, Alyssa.
You're welcome.
And then that's it. And then your blog. Well, let's promote your blog. What is this? What are we on? Podcast? Are we on a podcast?
Yeah, someday I want to record the audio.
Oh,
Maybe
yeah.
since my friend Zach gave me this GoPro camera for my birthday, maybe the next birthday present from him will be like some kind of sound recorder.
Yeah, that would be cool. Zach's a good man for doing that, you know.
He is.
Yeah. Did you get him anything for his birthday?
I
That's
want to
enough.
get him the movie Inception. Have you seen Inception?
I have not.
Oh, I want to get you the movie Inception, or recommend that you watch it.
Okay. Are we switching from the Amazon to movies now?
Okay, it's recording.
And I went on a mission trip.
Tell the camera.
Where did you go on your mission trip?
Costa Rica.
Uh-huh. What did you do when you were there?
I told people about God and Jesus.
Okay.
You take care of any kids?
Yes.
You
Yes.
feed people?
Not like, I didn't like grab a
No, but
spoon.
you gave them food.
Yeah, we gave them food.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think that'll work.